Jai Hind to everyone. My name is Mili Srivastava and I am for Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College from IT department. Today I am going to discuss about virtualization in cloud computing. So what is virtualization and why it is needed? Basically, virtualization is a better resource utilization of any hardware. When we have lot of hardware but we can't use of that, so we convert that hardware into different virtual machines, and they all are different to each other. And basic concept of virtualization is that virtualization is for better hardware utilization, as or we can say that virtualization is data center built upon standardization commodity hardware and designed with modular architecture. Uh, so basically, this is basic diagram of virtualization, how any hardware machine convert into virtual machine. And when we convert that virtual machine from any hardware, that is all are independent to each other. This is one example of virtualization. Or we can, I want to also discuss one thing like when we done virtualization, when we create any virtual machine from any hardware, it is because of it is done by software, that is hypervisor. With the help of hypervisor software, we can done this process like we can say here, this is hypervisor, this is software by which we can convert that hardware into a different virtual machine, and they all are independent to each other. Or we can say that they are having different operating system, they are having different libraries, they are having different guest operating system. So this is the basic concept of virtualization. Now, what is virtualization? Virtualization is a technique of how to separate a service from the underlying physical delivery of that service. It is the process of creating a virtual version of something like computer hardware, by which, in which, when we create done virtualization, there are a lot of advantages like there is no infrastructure cost, there is no manager cost, employees cost, because it done as a virtual concept. So we can say that this is a machine on which the virtual mechanism is going. It is known as host machine, and that virtual machine is referred as a guest machine. So this is concept of virtualization. Now, what are the benefits of virtualization or advantages of virtualization? With the help of virtualization, that is more flexible and efficient allocation of resources and enhanced development productivity. It lowers the cost of IT infrastructure, as already told, remote access and rapid scalability, high availability and disaster recovery, pay as per use. This is called scalability, pay as per use. As virtual machine we required, we can pay for that and we can use that service of virtual machine. Enables running multiple operating systems. So basically these are the benefits of virtual machine. Next is types of virtualization. So basically there are different types of virtualization like desktop virtualization, application virtualization, network virtualization, and storage virtualization. We can also say that this desktop virtualization is a hardware virtualization. In hardware virtualization, when the virtual machine software or virtual machine manager both are directly installed on the hardware, that system is known as hardware virtualization. That type of virtualization is known as hardware virtualization. So in case of In case of desktop virtualization, we can we also say that is hardware virtualization. The main job of hypervisor is to control and monitoring. What is hypervisor? Hypervisor is a software by which we can convert our hardware into different virtual machines. So here, what is the use of hardware here? That is, the main job of hypervisor is to control and monitoring the process, memory and other hardware resources. That is, after virtualization of hardware system, we can install different operating system on it and run different applications on that operating system. So this is known as. And what are the uses of this virtualization? In application virtualization is mainly done for the server platforms, because controlling virtual machine is much easier than the controlling a physical server. So basically it helps a user to have a remote access and application from the server. The server stores our personal information in that, by which we can use it from anywhere, anytime. So this is the main advantage of virtualization. Example of this would be a user who needs to run to different versions of the same software. Suppose there is a group of people and they all are in different places, so they all can done same work with the help of this virtual machine. There is no any infrastructure, IT infrastructure, by which we all the members come that infrastructure and done their work. So they can remotely access that server and done all the work accordingly. Now, next is network virtualization. What is network virtualization? Network virtualization, we can say that when the virtual machine software and a virtual machine manager both are directly installed, or both are installed on the host operating system instead of directly on the hardware system, that is known as the network virtualization, or basically we can say that system virtualization. What is this uses of network virtualization? When operating system virtualization is mainly used for testing the application on different platforms of operating system. So in network virtualization, the ability to run multiple virtual networks with each has a separate control and data plan. It coexists together on the top of one physical layer. It can be managed by individual parties. Next is desktop virtualization. In desktop virtualization, when the virtual machine software or virtual machine manager, that is VMM, is directly installed on the server system or desktop system, server system, that is known as desktop virtualization or server virtualization. That is, what are the use of this type of virtualization like desktop or server virtualization? The server virtualization is done because a single physical server can be divided into multiple servers on the demand basis and for balancing the host or we can say that load, balancing for balancing the load. So in which desktop virtualization allows the user operating system to remotely stored on a server in the data center, as I already discussed. Next is storage virtualization. What is storage virtualization? Storage virtualization is one of the most important part of virtualization, by which we can save our data, data information, files, servers, like that. So, what is storage virtualization? In storage virtualization is the process of grouping the physical storage for multiple networks, storage devices, so that it looks like a single storage device. So, in storage virtualization, that is also implemented by software applications. Now, storage virtualization is an array of servers that are managed by a virtual storage system. The servers are not aware of exactly where their data is stored, and instead of function more like workers bees in a hive. So we create a logical files, physical files like indexing, by which we can found our data easily. So this is part of virtualization. So how implementation level of virtualization, so how it works and how we can implement all the virtualization on different level. Now I'm going to discuss about implementation, how we can implement that different types of virtualization on a particular system. So we can, how does virtualization works in cloud computing? Like, virtualization plays a very important role in a cloud computing technology. Manually, in the cloud computing, users share the data present in the cloud, like applications, etc. But actually, with the help of virtualization, user shares the infrastructure. So this is the main concept of virtualization, why we use, how does virtualization works in cloud computing. And the main uses of virtualization technology is to provide the application with the standard versions to their cloud users. Suppose if the next version of that application is released, the cloud provider has to provide the latest version of their cloud user, and practically it is possible because it is more expensive. Practically it is not possible because it is more expensive. So virtualization is a computer architecture technology by which multiple virtual machines are multiplexed in the same hardware machine. So we can say that there are a lot of steps, like implementation steps, that is data virtualization, and we can say data virtualization or analysis performance, data virtualization tool. There are so many tasks of implementation levels of virtualization. So first I'm going to discuss about data virtualization. So basically, these are the levels of implementation levels of virtualization: instruction set architecture, hardware level, operating system level, library support level, and application level. So first is structure set level, that is also called as ISL level. So what is done in infrastructure set architecture, what is going on here? Virtualization, in data virtualization is the process of retrieve data from various resources without knowing its type and physical locations where it is stored. It collects heterogeneous data from different resources and allows data users across the organization to access data according to their work requirements. So we can also say that this heterogeneous data can be accessed using any application such as web portal, web services, e-commerce, software as a service, that is SaaS, and mobile application. If we discuss about what are the advantages of infrastructure set architecture level or data set. So we can say that it allows users to access the data without worrying about where it resides in the memory. So we can also say that it offers better customer satisfaction, retention, and reverse growth for the growth of different softwares or projects. It provides various security mechanisms that allow users to safely store their personal and professional information. It reduces cost by removing data application. It provides a user-friendly interface to develop customized user. Now, next is hardware abstraction level. So what is hardware abstraction level? In hardware abstraction level, it is performed right on the top of the bare hardware generates a virtual machine hardware environment of virtual machines, and that is we can say that previously there was one-to-one relationship, because between physical servers and operating system, low capacity of CPU, memory and networking requirements were available. So by using this model, the cost of doing business increased. The physical space, amount of power and hardware requirement meant the cost were adding up. Now, in operating system level, OS level, when the virtual machine software or virtual machine manager or hypervisor, what is hypervisor? Hypervisor is the software by which we can convert our hardware into different virtual machines. That hypervisor software is directly installed on the hardware system. It is known as the hardware virtualization. The main job of hypervisor is to control and monitoring the processor, memory and other hardware resources. Next is library support level. What is library support level? Virtualization with library interfaces is possible by controlling the communication link between applications and the rest of the APIs. Like the hypervisor is mainly used to perform various tasks such as allocate physical hardware resources, that is CPU, RAMs, etc., RAMs, ROM. No, so to several smaller independent virtual machines called guest as a on the host machines, that is library support level. So how virtualization supports at the operating system level? When it is allowed to initialize the hardware, or we can say that hardware assisted virtualization was presented by different levels, and it is also known as this is also type of hardware virtualization, and the advantage of using this that is hardware assisted virtualization is that it requires less by hypervisor overhead. What are the advantages? That is, virtual machines at the operating system level have minimal startups, shutdowns, cost, low resources requirements and high scalability. That is, it is possible for a virtual machine and its host environment to synchronize state changes whenever it is necessary. In server virtualization, that is, each server can be restarted independently and does not affect the working of other virtual process. Next is virtualization structure and virtualization tools. What kind of tools or software we use in virtualization implementation? That is hypervisor, para virtualization, host based virtualization. Now I'm going to discuss about full virtualization, para virtualization and half virtualization. That is, so in hypervisor architecture, in hypervisor, in the server virtualization, hypervisor plays an important role. It is a layer between the operating system and the hardware. Hypervisor works in between, or as an interface in hardware and the operating system. There are two types of hypervisor, basically type 1 and type 2 hypervisor. Type 1 hypervisor, also known as bare metal or native hypervisor, and type 2 hypervisor, that is also known as hosted or enabled hypervisor. So this is one of the architecture in which we can use full virtualization or para virtualization. So what is full virtualization and para virtualization? Full virtualization uses a hypervisor to directly communicate with the CPU and physical server, and there is no any other third party, and it provides the best isolation and security mechanism to the virtual machines. So, VMware and EXX servers is the best examples of full virtualization. For virtualization, sometimes full virtualization is very important and plays very important role in virtualization. Now, why we use para virtualization? Para virtualization is quite similar to the full virtualization. The advantage of using this virtualization, that is easier to use, enhanced performance, and does not require equations or evaluations overhead. Zen architecture is an example of para virtualization. In Zen, it is open source hypervisor program developed by Cambridge University. This is one of the program based on para virtualization. Now, this is Zen architecture, how hypervisor, Zen kind of hypervisor, how Zen worked as virtualization. It plays same role of hypervisor as a software, but it works on the policy of para virtualization. We can say that there are 3 different virtual machines, and with the help of Zen hypervisor, we can convert our hardware into different virtual machines. Now, this is full virtualization. I already told you what is full virtualization. Full virtualization uses a hypervisor to directly communicate with the CPU and physical server, and it provides the best isolation and security mechanism to the virtual machines. Next is host-based virtualization. What is host-based virtualization? When operating system virtualization is also called as a system level virtualization. It is a server virtualization technology that divides one operating system into multiple isolated user space, called host-based virtualization. That is, an alternative virtual machine architecture is to install a virtualization layer on top of the host operating system. The host-based architecture has some distinct advantages. There are host-based virtualization also have some different advantages when we create or when we convert our hardware into different virtual machine. Then we can say that what is the advantages of para, what is the advantages of full virtualization, and what are the advantages of host-based virtualization. All these are having different advantages and different limitations also. So, this is para virtualization. Virtualization of CPU memory and input-output devices, how it works. That in server virtualization, each server can be restarted independently and does not affect the working of other servers. Or to support virtualization, processes such as x88 employ a simple running mode and instructions known as hardware assisted virtualization, in which we can say that the directly server virtualization allows us to deploy our resources in a simple and faster way. Next is hardware support for virtualization. How hardware supports virtualization? That as we know that there has been a storage link between the physical host and the locally installed storage devices. So, however, the paradigm has been changing drastically. Almost local storage is no longer needed. So, we can say that modern operating system and processors permit multiple processes to run simultaneously, in which in hardware support virtualization, it works in the modern system, how modern operating system and processor permit multiple processes to run simultaneously. We can say that this works as a multi-programming concept. Now, this is an example of hardware support virtualization. Now, what is CPU virtualization? CPU virtualization is also a part of virtual machine. A virtual machine is a duplicate of an existing computer system in which a majority of the virtual machine instructions are executed on the host processor in name model, based on name model. This thus unprivileged instructions of virtual machines run directly on the host machine for higher efficiency. Other critical instructions should be handled carefully for correctness and stability of that virtual machine. So this is CPU virtualization. What is hardware assisted CPU virtualization? It is totally based upon hardware assisted, totally based upon hardware, when the principle or the technique attempts to simplify virtualization, because full and para virtualization is complicated. This is diagram of hardware assisted virtualization, that types of CPU virtualization based on hardware. When we different types of hardware, when we create different types of hardware from our host hardware, that is called hardware assisted CPU virtualization. Now this is all for virtualization, types of virtualization, what are the advantages and the disadvantages, and the implementation levels of virtualization. Thank you so much.